Hey everybody, it's Bruce here with Traveling with Bruce. Welcome to my video today. Today's video is all about Carnival Cruise Lines. They have got to drop 13 cruise ships. I thought it was 6, now it's 13. Their financials came out today. Yuck is the word, and I got news from Royal Caribbean. Thank you, all of you, for subscribing to my channel, Traveling with Bruce, giving my videos thumbs ups, following me on Facebook, liking me on Instagram, and also visiting my RedBubble Store. Link is down below. Thank you for all your support. Royal Caribbean today also made an announcement. They finalized their acquisition of Silversea Cruises, the 6-star cruise line, which they grabbed about 2 years ago. They grabbed 2/3 of this cruise line. They'd finalized the final third today, and I'll go into that a little bit later. But today it's all about Carnival. Oh my goodness! They came out today with their second quarter financials. That means their financials from March, April, and May of 2020. And the ugliness continues. A loss of $4.4 billion versus a profit of $451 million. So that's only about $5 billion difference. Unbelievable. They're burning cash. The guesstimate is for the remainder of this year, $650 million will be burned off from their cash balance. So speaking of cash balance, they say they have $6.9 billion available to them versus $581 million a year ago. They talking about their assets, $49 billion in assets, liabilities $12 billion, long-term debt $15 billion. So they still have equity there, but no cash coming in the front door. This past quarter, they handled 426,000 passengers across all 9 cruise lines that they own. Last year, they handled 3.1 million passengers in those 3 months. So you're going from 3 million passengers in a quarter or 1 million a month to nothing, because in the last few months, there hasn't been a single passenger on board any of these ships. Shares outstanding, 721 million. Used to have 691 million. There'll be more shares issued going forward. They have issued bonds with convertible rights, and there'll be more shares outstanding as time goes on, which means the shareholders will be diluted down the line. Now, the talking about dropping 6 cruise ships, now dropping 13 cruise ships, holy moly, we're talking about the P&O Pacific area, the P&O Dawn, the Costa Mediterranean, the P&O Oceania, the Costa Atlantica, the Mediterranean. What's happening here is the cruise line had made arrangements last year. The 2 P&O ships are already agreed to be transferred to CMV, Cruise Marine Voyages, out of the UK. That, of course, it is going to happen if CMV can take delivery of those cruise ships. They may not be able to do it because they themselves are having all kinds of financial issues right now. One of their bankers balked at cutting them a loan deal a couple of weeks ago, and they're now scrambling for like $50 million to sort of survive it. The Carnival folks sold off the Costa Atlantica and the Costa Mediterranea to a Chinese venture that they have put together. I believe they own a 50% stake in a cruise line with the China State Shipbuilding Corporation, the largest shipbuilding company in China. And that entity and Carnival are teaming up to get about 8 ships together to sail the China market. And several of the ships are coming from Costa. They're going to be refurbished and then put out there. And several ships will be built from scratch by the China Shipbuilding Company. And this is a long-term deal that they've arranged. There's no problem with the amount of money needed from the shipbuilding side of things. They're endless dollars. But for Carnival's deal, they had to provide several ships from Costa. They didn't mind one bit delivering 20-year-old cruise ships to the China market because they don't need them in the Mediterranean, and they didn't want to sail them going forward. They're getting pretty old. But the other 7 ships, this is the speculation. What will the other 7 ships be? These ships right here, the pictures you're looking at right now, are of the fantasy class Carnival ships that were built in the 90s. And all people in the know are saying, oh, these are naturally the ones that are going to go because they have no balconies, and it looks very unlikely that Carnival is going to keep them around. Now, over here at Royal Caribbean, they quietly announced today that they issued a total of 5.2 million shares from the treasury of their company to the owners of Silversea Cruises. Now, Silversea sold 2/3 of itself to Royal Caribbean for $1 billion cash and a 400,000 share option, and they've closed the remaining 1/3 for this block of stock. Now, the owners of Silversea now own 2.5% of Royal Caribbean because of the number of shares that they own. Silversea, of course, runs a 6-star cruise line. I mean, looking at these photos, some of the interiors here, absolutely gorgeous. This allowed Royal Caribbean to move up the scale when it came to luxury offerings. This cruise line also, they are developing exploratory ships for the Arctic and Antarctica. And so going forward, these very small, elegant ships will satisfy the need for 6-star cruising for Royal Caribbean's clientele. So you look at their cruise lines like Royal Caribbean and Celebrity and Azamara, and now we have Silversea. This all fits in with the big picture for Royal Caribbean long term. These particular ships here from Silversea, they never held thousands of passengers. They were designed for 200, 500, 700 people at a time. All the rooms on board these ships are balcony rooms, so they don't have to worry about social distancing with regard to inside type cabins. It'll be interesting to see, of course, going forward what the CDC decides long term regarding occupancy rates for various classes of ships. But I think the Silversea brand will make Royal Caribbean nothing but money, lots and lots of money. And there you go. Of course, with the cruise line Royal Caribbean, they have 4 of the biggest ships in the world right now, with the Harmony of the Seas being one of them. These are the ships that you're going to see the cruise line start to sail with first when they can start sailing. And of course, these ships may be limited with respect to how many passengers they can put on at a time, but don't be surprised if 2,500 to 3,500 passengers still will be on board these big ships, which makes them probably even more enjoyable for the passengers who will be able to be on them, because it's one thing to be on a ship with 6,500 people, but with 3,500 people and a ship of this size, this is going to be roomy, really roomy. We'll follow that story, of course, as we follow all of the stories. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Like I said, Carnival bleeding money like crazy, like everyone else. Having now to dump 13 ships, probably a very good idea. And Royal Caribbean acquiring the remainder of Silversea, another smart corporate move, and building up their balance sheet by just issuing paper instead of cash. There you go, folks. Thanks for joining me today. Thank you for subscribing, giving my videos thumbs ups, and following me. We'll talk to you later, everybody. Bye for now.